can play the bossa nova with erhu.
The best instrument to explain the human's feeling.
He uses symbols to paint.
When I was a kid, I was very fascinated with numbers and letters.
They combine painting and music to create a new form of art. Erhu player Eric Lee and American artist Ford Crull will talk about the fusion of art. Stay tuned.
Culture matters, it matters. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. As you can tell that this is a special edition of the show because we're in a different studio. We're trying to discover the difference in between Western and Eastern culture. Well, today we're gonna have two different type of artists. One's from China and he's a erhu player. He's a musician. And the other one, we're gonna introduce you a painter from United States. So don't go away. You did your paintings with your eyes closed.
You know, most of my work comes from just my imagination.
You don't mind what type of interpretations people might have.
The more the merrier.
They don't like you anymore. Don't you afraid of that?
That's right. You can lose some and you gain others.
Welcome back to Culture Matters. Sitting here in the studio with me is another famous artist, and his name is Ford Crull.
Ford Crull, a representative of the neo-symbolism movement, is a famous artist from the United States. His works have been collected by many famous museums, one of which has even been bought by Bill Gates. Ford is very good at using colors and symbols to create an imaginary world in front of the canvas. Recently, he finished a painting in collaboration with some young musicians in Shanghai.
Welcome to the show, Ford.
Thank you. Thank you.
What makes you here in China? I mean, just to cooperate with Chinese musicians to do your work, or any other purpose?
Well, I originally came here for the Shanghai Art Fair in '06. It's interesting, Shanghai and New York, for me, are very similar.
Oh, really?
The energy, the vitality, the creativity. I saw a lot of interesting work at the Shanghai Art Fair, and became involved with a wonderful couple here who fell in love with my work and came to New York, and we ended up working together. And an opportunity came whereby I could show at this new area called Bund 1919. Probably overzealously decided to improvise something there because I thought it might be very interesting. And the suggestion was made that I use music along with it, and I thought that was a phenomenal idea.
By checking your websites, I've seen a lot of your artworks and so forth. Your form of painting, is it a impressionism type of painting?
Not really. It's always interesting, I think, for painters or even artists now to come up with a catch-all term. If anything, I'd call myself a neo-symbolist in that I was very drawn to the French symbolism movement of the late 19th century. They were the first to kind of change how images were put onto a canvas, and that there might be a lot of different meanings involved. The whole idea of symbolism is very interesting to me. And actually, when I was a kid, I was very fascinated with numbers and letters.
Yeah, yes, I can tell. You like to use different type of lines and symbols. For instance, like a heart shape of symbols. In most of your painting, you have a major symbol in there. What kind of impressions that you like to bring to the audience with those symbols? I mean, because, for instance, like heart, everybody knows heart. It's just like it gives people a feeling of love, romance, and sometimes warming feeling. But in some of your works, it looks so heavy with a heart. Is that what you like to show to the people, the contrast between them?
I'm interested in creating a reaction. I think somebody had written some questions about how I feel whether or not people understand my work. I think that's always difficult for artists. I think what artists are really trying to communicate is just some kind of personal relationship between the object and some intention that they may put forth. In my case, I'm really interested in creating a feeling, a sensibility, because a lot of the symbols come from every culture, Mayan, Chinese, Byzantine, whatever. So I kind of create a hybrid iconography that for me is very personal, but it's very archetypal. In other words, hopefully it reaches out to people in different cultures, and they're going to interpret it differently. But part of the notion of symbolism is that whatever somebody sees in that piece of work is every bit as valid as anything I may have intended. So it's not really about any kind of literal interpretation. It's about creating a sensibility, a feeling, an emotion.
Okay, you don't mind what type of interpretations people might have.
The more the merrier. Because art is about ideas, really. If you see a vase of flowers and it's painted a certain way, okay, there it is. And you're going to look at it and it's going to be the same every time. My art dealer here, and my art dealers in general, and most of my collectors, they're always telling me they see something different all the time. Our experiences in life change our perspective.
Yes.
So all the time, I've had a guy call me from 10, 12 years ago and said, you know, I never saw this thing in here, but now I see this whole different meaning in this area of your painting. And that's because his or her experiences change.
Thank you very much, because in this case, I might raise some question. I already thought maybe I might offended you, because I'm afraid that I've misinterpreted your works. In some of your works, I see a big contrast. Okay, color contrast, or the contrast of bright and dark, and the contrast of happy and sad, and so forth. Is that what you like to show, or especially a series of paintings that you did is like the one called The Bridge? You divide canvas in two different sections, and one is very dark on one side and very bright on the others. But on the dark side, you did see some bright colors like red and so forth. Is contrast a key to your works?
Well, I'd like to call it more like a balance of opposites.
Balance?
I've always been interested in the idea of, and certainly a Chinese sensibility, yin, yang, male, female, good, bad, whatever. The universe to me is kind of a balance of opposites. And I think it's a very Eastern sensibility that life works when it's in balance. And you have to balance both sides of the equation. So at one point, I was very interested in two separate canvases. The term for that is diptych, where they're two separate panels. But if you notice, they join in the middle. Certain lines.
There are certain kind of connections, yes.
I'll give you an example. Marriage.
Marriage,
Tough
yes.
one, right? Someone described it to me once. I thought it was a real beautiful idea. He said it's like two trees. They are separate trees, but when they are flowing in the wind or it's raining, the branches intermingle. And in that relationship where they come together, they are together. So they are one in that union, but they are separate as well. It's an idea where you can be, you know, Sun Yat-sen said, we're all one family. So we're individual, yet we're one. And that's, it would seem like a contradiction, but it obviously is not. So in those two panels, you have that balance of opposites, of light and dark, good, bad, male, female. And I like the tension between the two, but at the same time, they are unified. Those
philosophical thoughts, it's kind of a Chinese harmonious world is created by two different sides. It's the hard side and the soft side, and the dark side and the bright side. and the yin and yang and so forth. What did you get this kind of idea?
When Mr. Lee was talking about his music and when he was little, I think that stuff is just really intrinsic. When I was a little kid, I was drawn to color. I was drawn to the shapes and symbols with different colors attached to them. There's a complicated term for it, but I think a lot of creative people have that different way of looking at things. Early on, it's interesting, I found a drawing I did when I was 10. And it was almost like a Jackson Pollock. But it was beautiful. I thought it's as good as anything I'm doing now.
I've read an article. It says that you did your paintings with your eyes closed.
Yeah, well, this happened kind of by accident. I also, like Mr. Lee, love Brazil. Boy, what a happy place that is. And late at night one night, I was on the roof of where we were staying, and
Brazil,
in Rio, and I had my sketch pad and crayons and pencil, and it was so dark I couldn't really see very well. And most of my work comes from just my imagination, improvisation. So I was drawing these things and putting color in and smearing them around. And when I saw them in the light, they were phenomenal. They had much more character, personality, and soul than if I was like, oh, there's somebody over there and I'm going to try to draw them literally. I kind of went back to doing figuration again. And what I found is with like a heavy graphite utensil tool, when I draw that and I'm thinking of something, but I'm not looking at it, but I'm more thinking of the figure or a symbol or whatever, when I finish drawing it and open my eyes, it just has so much more power and integrity in terms of the drawing quality and the personality of it than if I had tried to do that. So some of the paintings I have over at the gallery have those, and that's really a kind of a newer thing for me. When you stop using your head so much, you know, and you come from your heart, the way the figures, for me, they have these amazing expressions and personality that I don't think I could put that in there.